Queen Elizabeth had a reputation for being modest, quiet, and surprisingly easygoing for someone who wore the crown almost her entire life. But there was one thing she absolutely refused to compromise on: respect. Behind closed palace doors, manners were non-negotiable. The staff were never treated like background props. They were the people keeping the entire royal machine alive. So when Meghan Markle joined the family, a few tense moments made it clear the Queen had no problem reminding her how things actually worked in the monarchy. These 15 moments show exactly how the Queen drew the line and wait for number 12, because that was when she proved she would not tolerate nonsense from anyone. The first clash happened as the wedding preparations were in full swing. It started with a simple rule: we do not speak to people like that. Meghan went to Windsor Castle for a menu tasting. She wanted every detail flawless for their high-profile guests, bridging both royal tradition and Hollywood royalty. But the mood shifted when Meghan tasted a supposedly vegan dish and realized it contained egg. She was furious, and the room turned incredibly tense. Fast, she confronted the caterer in charge. What should have been a quick, easy fix suddenly escalated into a very heated exchange. The staffer tried to explain things calmly, but Meghan was apparently far from calm. She raised her voice, letting her frustration boil over in a way that simply did not fly inside the Queen's household. In their world, treating staff poorly was never shrugged off as a minor slip-up. This was Windsor Castle, right before the wedding. That was when Meghan got into a highly charged argument with a royal staffer, completely losing her patience. She completely blew up at them because she had demanded a strictly vegan meal, and she was absolutely convinced that she could taste real egg in the recipe. Meghan repeatedly berated the staff member, insisting she could taste egg in the recipe. The situation got so out of hand that the Queen herself had to step in and handle it. Walking into the room, the Queen immediately shut down the entire confrontation with a single, quiet sentence. Meghan, in this family, we do not speak to people like that. It was not a screaming match, just sheer authority. A quiet, devastating shutdown straight from the monarch. Meghan was still adjusting to her new life, but in that split second, the Queen laid down a boundary that was impossible to misinterpret. The staff deserved respect, no matter how grand the wedding or how important the bride felt. This entire incident stemmed from Harry and Meghan deciding to serve a mostly vegan menu. During the planning stages, Meghan grew furious with the caterer for supposedly putting egg in a soup meant to be fully vegan. Meghan apparently snapped, do you even know what vegan is? That aggressive tone deeply offended the Queen, who had worked closely with that catering team for years. People overheard the Queen firmly reminding Meghan that they do not speak to the staff that way. For the second moment, the Queen actually drove over to confront her. It shows just how seriously she took that standard. When the monarch was genuinely upset, she did not hide behind polite letters or quiet palace whispers. Instead, she went directly to the source to handle it herself. Royal historian Hugo Vickers, who met the Queen more than 40 times, claimed Meghan was once highly dismissive to a junior gardener at Windsor who was just doing his job. The head gardener was deeply upset by how his staff member was treated, but knew that confronting Meghan directly would only make things worse. So he went straight to the Queen. Rather than sending a formal memo or delegating the issue, the Queen ordered her car, got in, and went to find Meghan herself. Picture that moment, the ruling monarch showing up in person because a staffer was spoken to poorly. When she arrived, she delivered another blunt reality check: you simply cannot be rude to the staff. No shouting, no scene, just cold royal authority. Seeing the Queen pull up in person like that must have been a massive shock. Out of nowhere, the Queen stood there and spoke. Meghan, in this family, we do not speak to people like that. It highlighted the deep tension between Meghan's background as an actress and royal expectations. She may have been used to addressing set assistants quite abruptly, but inside the royal household, long-serving staff are treated almost like family members. Take Angela Kelly, the Queen's right-hand woman, who was practically a sister or daughter to Her Majesty. Now, for the third moment, it is not a toy. The Queen loved welcoming new brides into the family with a very special tradition, letting them choose a historic tiara from her own private collection. These were not just sparkling accessories. They were priceless, historic treasures bound by generations of strict protocol and royal duty. But when Meghan's turn arrived, things got incredibly tense. She reportedly demanded the tiara be sent over early so her hairstylist could practice working with it. Prince Harry repeatedly tried to contact Angela Kelly, the Queen's highly trusted dresser, attempting to force her to release the heirloom for the bridal hair trial. He was in London and got into a direct showdown with Angela Kelly, demanding she hand it over immediately. The Queen was not pleased with that demanding tone at all. According to a palace aide, she shut down the request with one sharp warning: "It is not a toy." That single sentence said it all. To Meghan, it might have seemed like a simple bridal accessory to try on for a hair appointment. But to the Queen, it was a priceless piece of crown history, never to be treated casually. Reports even emerged that Kate Middleton had practiced her hairstyle using a cheap plastic replica, leaving many to wonder why Meghan could not have done the same. During her tiara selection and hair rehearsal, when they were essentially just going through the motions, her hairdresser actually bought a £6 plastic tiara from Accessorize because, frankly, it did not really matter, you know. Fourth on the list, Meghan cannot have whatever she wants. But that tiara drama did not end there. When the moment actually arrived to collect the piece, the tension reportedly got even worse. According to royal biographer Robert Lacey, Harry allegedly declared what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. Once you served your purpose, she simply moved on. That is just how she is, apparently. Meghan gets what Meghan wants. Once again, pretty harsh commentary from a former friend saying that inside Queen Elizabeth's palace was incredibly bold and it was never going to end well. The Queen was in no mood to hear anyone act like royal tradition could be pushed around by personal demands. So when she allegedly heard about his outburst, she answered firmly, "Meghan cannot have whatever she wants. She gets the tiara I give her." And just like that, the argument was over. Harry probably did not expect such a blunt response from his grandmother, but he had no choice except to fall in line. The Queen stepped in, drew the line, and settled the entire debate in one single sentence. Fifth time, no negotiation. The ultimate royal correction arrived when Harry and Meghan decided to walk away from royal life. They proposed a half-in, half-out deal to stay connected to senior royal status while chasing independent careers, private income, and their own public brand. But Queen Elizabeth was not about to let the monarchy become some pick-and-choose arrangement. In January 2020, she called the Sandringham Crisis Summit, and once the discussions ended, her verdict was clear. There would be no halfway roll, no special side doors, and absolutely no royal benefits without full royal duty. They were either all in or entirely out. That was the ultimate power move. The Queen did not negotiate the crown into pieces. She ruled. And even later, when Harry still seemed to want some version of that deal, King Charles followed the exact line his mother had already drawn. King Charles basically said, absolutely not. There is no route for Harry to embrace a half-in, half-out royal duty situation. Multiple UK outlets, from the Times of London to the Daily Mail, are all stating the same thing. That half-in, half-out scenario Harry's team keeps floating is simply not the future of his relationship with the family. Sixth time erased from the Christmas photos. This heavy royal putting in place went down during one of the year's most sensitive times, Christmas. During the Queen's 2019 Christmas address, carefully chosen family photographs were displayed in the green drawing room. There were portraits of William and Catherine, Charles and Camilla, Prince Philip, and even a black and white image of King George VI, but Harry, Meghan, and their newborn son Archie were nowhere to be seen. Palace sources explained the photos merely represented the direct line of succession, but that empty space was impossible to ignore. And according to reports, the Sussexes took it quite personally. In royal language, a missing photo speaks louder than a public statement. Seventh time banned from the deathbed. Then came one of the most painful moments of all. As Queen Elizabeth's final hours approached, close family members started rushing to Balmoral, At first, a spokesperson for the Sussexes reportedly suggested Harry and Meghan would travel together, but that quickly changed. Then, Prince Charles reportedly made it crystal clear that Harry needed to come without Meghan. Royal correspondent Katie Nicholl later confirmed that Meghan had not been invited to join the family for that solemn moment. This was no red carpet event, no royal appearance, and certainly not a moment for cameras. It was a private goodbye to the Queen, and the palace boundary was firm. Eighth time, uninvited from royal dinners. Even before Harry and Meghan stepped back from active duties, reports claim they were already finding themselves left out of certain official dinner functions. The reason apparently came down to repeated tension over royal protocol. One issue involved the traditional rule of separating married couples at formal dinner tables, something Meghan reportedly dismissed as outdated. Public displays of affection were also said to make some guests quite uncomfortable in those highly formal settings, and Queen Elizabeth never needed a scene to send a message. She did not always confront directly. Sometimes the coldest royal correction was simply this, the invitation simply stopped coming. However, a source told The Sun that Prince Harry actually skipped a dinner with Charles and William the day the Queen died. The Duke of Sussex reportedly insisted his wife Meghan join the family for dinner at Balmoral, but the new King Charles III said it was not appropriate. Ninth time, not at all content. During the wedding planning phase, reports emerged that Queen Elizabeth was not being properly kept in the loop. Harry reportedly wrote to Lady Elizabeth Anson claiming the Queen was perfectly happy with the wedding preparations, but when Anson spoke directly to the Queen, the answer was very different. According to those reports, the Queen made it crystal clear that she was not at all content. That was a quiet but incredibly serious correction. She was far too dignified to ever create a public scene, especially with the wedding already moving forward. But that did not mean she secretly approved of everything happening behind closed doors. By that point, preparations had gone way too far to call off without causing a massive scandal. So the wedding continued, but the Queen reportedly made sure the truth moved through her own trusted channels. In royal life, silence does not always mean approval. Sometimes it just means the Queen is choosing the cleanest way to keep control. Another reported clash came over Meghan's wedding day. Look, specifically her veil. Traditionally, white wedding gowns and veils carry specific symbolism. And because Meghan was divorced, the Queen reportedly had private concerns about her wearing a traditional veil. Other royal divorcees, including Camilla and Princess Anne, took a very different path for their second weddings. They skipped the traditional white bridal look. But Meghan wanted things her way, making the veil another clash between old royal rules and her own modern vision. It gets interesting here. A new book claims the Queen strongly disliked Meghan's stark white wedding gown. The Queen supposedly called it flamboyantly virginal for a divorcee who had already spent years in a previous marriage. With Meghan, the old establishment rules seemed to bend in ways they never had for anyone else. Reports claim Meghan kept secrets, failing to properly brief the Queen about the gown before going ahead with it. In the palace corridors, that was a massive misstep. Royal gowns are never just fashion statements. They are symbols written directly into history. The Queen's disappointment was obvious, but she still attended. Duty, dignity, and Harry being her grandson demanded it. The show had to go on. Number 11, the 60,000-pound dress that sparked royal anger. Meghan loved high-end designer labels, but one specific look left the Queen completely cold. During a 2019 trip to Morocco, Meghan stepped out in a Dior gown costing around 60,000 pounds. When the Queen read about the price tag in the newspaper, she was deeply disappointed. Honestly, it is easy to see why. Queen Elizabeth famously re-wore her clothes for decades and even used ration coupons for her own wedding gown after World War II. Her entire public image was built on duty, modesty, and never flaunting extreme wealth. So, a dress with that kind of price tag reportedly struck her as tone-deaf and entirely wrong for a working royal. To the Queen, royal style was about dignity, not screaming wealth. Number 12, banishment from the balcony. Then came a highly public royal boundary, the balcony. During her birthday celebrations, the Queen announced only active working royals could stand out there. That single choice shut Harry and Meghan out. Meghan had fully expected to be up there, making the rejection sting, but the message was crystal clear. The balcony is not a stage for celebrity status or personal branding. It is reserved for those serving the crown. Once Harry and Meghan quit, Queen Elizabeth stripped that privilege away. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, along with Prince Andrew, have been shut out of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee balcony appearance. Queen Elizabeth is limiting the balcony strictly to active working royals. Number 13, you cannot take royalty with you. After Harry and Meghan walked away from their duties, the Queen delivered her most decisive move yet. She flatly refused to let them market the Sussex royal brand for private commercial gain. It was a massive power play, reminding everyone who actually owned the titles, the imagery, and the crown itself. The couple had reportedly already sunk tens of thousands of pounds into launching that brand, trademarking the name, and building their entire future. But the Queen's decree was simple. If you are not doing the work of the monarchy, you cannot sell yourself as royalty. No royal role, no royal brand, no service to the crown, no crown-fueled business. It was a harsh line to draw because Sussex Royal was not just a logo, it was the foundation of their entire new life. And Queen Elizabeth killed it instantly. While they remain the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the palace confirmed they can no longer use their official royal titles. They will receive zero public funds for royal duties. And for Army veteran Harry, he has to surrender his honorary military positions. Number 14, give back the uniform. The Queen reasserted her authority by stripping them of the honorary military titles reserved strictly for active royals. This cut deepest of all because Harry's army service was genuine. In February 2020, he lost his role as Captain General of the Royal Marines, a title Prince Philip held for over 64 years. He was also stripped of his honorary Air Force and Navy appointments. No one could erase his 10 years of active service or his 2 combat tours in Afghanistan, but Queen Elizabeth was uncompromising. Honorary military titles belong to the service of the crown, not personal sentiment. If Harry wanted out of the working royal family, then the ceremonial honors connected to that role had to be returned immediately. Prince Harry is pushing ahead with his short Asian tour despite losing another major royal title. The prince made his first public appearance since the coronation at a Tokyo summit, just hours after his demotion. Number 15, the seating chart said everything. Their final appearance as working royals at the Commonwealth Day service on March 9th, 2020, was tightly controlled by the palace. The message wasn't delivered with a speech or a dramatic public announcement. Instead, it was written directly into the seating plan. In a sharp contrast to the previous year, Harry and Meghan were ushered to their seats before the Queen arrived, rather than walking beside her through Westminster Abbey like they used to. It might seem minor to casual viewers, but under royal protocol, tiny details carry massive weight. Even the traditional walk with William and Catherine was scrubbed, making their demotion impossible to ignore. There was no big farewell ceremony, no emotional speeches, no special tributes, and zero final moments in the spotlight. The Queen simply edited the order of service and let the world read between the lines. That was her style, total power without raising her voice. She didn't need to raise her voice, put out a harsh statement, or cause a public scene. Just one small tweak was enough to prove that Harry and Meghan's place inside the royal family had changed forever. And those are 15 times Meghan Markle tested Queen Elizabeth, only to regret it almost instantly. From clashes with staff to tiara drama, royal branding to balcony bans, the Queen made things crystal clear every single time. The crown simply would not bend just because Meghan wanted things her way. Tell me which of these moments felt the most humiliating. Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and share it around. It really helps us grow. See you next time.